Ooh, g'day guys, welcome back to Arthur's videos. Alright guys, I've lost actually lost what I was going to say. Alright guys, guess what, you know what the description is? It's down the bottom. And by the way, it's not another poker machine, all right, guys? For those who don't want to see another poker machine, it's not a pokey. But as I said before, I waffle on for all the guys who joined the viewing channel. Here's my sponsor cup from everybody. There it is there. All right. Here's the bottle, and I reckon this is the last yum cha I'm going to have with this bottle, guys. But all right, here it is here. He goes, how many drinks have you had before this video, guy? You're giggling away. Here we go. I'm pouring it in. This is it. Okay, this is it. The dregs are coming out. There it is. The dregs coming out. All right. Don't forget me. The bottle's finished. Okay, guys. Cheers. All right. Rest in peace. Okay, this might go with Pope Leo, and all that. I've got priest jokes now. All right. A lot of these videos, sometimes they come up, they're not even planned. They're just whatever it is. And that I had a conversation. I was talking with people. He goes, oh, what have you been working? I said, oh, this, and this. Yeah. How you going with them? I said, oh, mate, they're doing my fucking head in, you know what I mean? And all that crap, you know what I mean? So I'm going to reveal it. There's the Italian safety cat, you know what I mean? Guys, I've got the hang of these boards. They are doing my head in, but the biggest problem is trying to get the bits for them. Okay, here it is. I'm going to reveal it, okay? Okay, yep, that's what it is. There's the video. Okay, let me zoom down about there. All right, that's it. That is a Midway Space Invader board. My mate gave it to me. I do have mates, you know what I mean? And he gives it to me in the box, and he goes, hey man, this was tested a while back. I don't know how many months it has been sitting on the shelf, and can you check it if it works? Okay, yeah, you know what that is. Okay, so I get it in. I'll show you the other board too. I'm going to do sections. Okay, I'll get it in, I'll plug it in. Okay, there's a test ROM. You could get a test ROM. You can download the test ROM. I plug it in, it came up, one of the RAM chips fucked off, for fuck's sake. All right, so I changed the RAM chip. I said, fucking cowabunga, man, we're cooking with gas, you know what I mean? And so we did that. I've left it a few more days here and there because he gave me a couple of boards to fix. So I pull that out so I could compare with another board, and then guess what? I said, are you fucking serious? So I put the test ROM was still in it because that's the program, So I put it in. And another RAM chip was dud. I was like, oh, come on, man. So I pull him out. I was playing, and by the way, I was playing a 3-card Monty. Now, what a 3-card Monty is, those 3 cards where you're trying to find the Queen or the Jack or whatever it is, or the Ace. I was using 180-80. Okay, there it is there. I'm going to hold to explain to you. I've done a video for Toto Space Invaders a while back, but I'll run it again for you guys who, haven't seen this channel or whatever it is, all new for you. There's a lot of crap information out there. You Google it yourself. Okay, that's your program. There's your fucking 8080, and there's your RAM, okay? And then you got your dress coders and all this. It's a pretty basic thing, and that. We'll continue going with this board. Oh, check. Well, these Midway boards, they've got like this it's a shit to work on. Okay, all right. Check my work on that. I had to change all these ramps, okay? Have a look at my work and all the job that I've done. This is how I've done most of it, okay? I try to keep it not molested by people, basically, but it's not easy to work with, and I do have issues trying to take the stuff out. So let's go back to the RAM. So one RAM was stuffed, okay? I replaced that. I put another one in. The RAM test goes, oh, there's another RAM. And I kept going back. I said, mate, it can't be all these ramps. So at the end I said, fuck this. So I pulled all 16 out, okay? There's 16 of them here. And what, Calabunga? 9 were duds. I said, fuck, excellent. So I ordered new ones from the girl from China. Actually, new, not fucking regurgitation system. And I put them all in once they came in. and I found another one dead. I said, oh, come on, I keep saying to myself, how many more am I going to cop, you know what I mean, with this shit, you know what I mean? I said to you, I'm trying to find the bag, you know what I mean? Yeah, here, there it is there, all right, look at that. Okay, I said, oh, how many more are going to fucking die on this bloody board? And what happens is, it's these Intel chips, I'm going to hold it there to show you, it's these Intel chips, these guys. These are the ones I've noticed have died the most, okay? All these Intel ones, okay? They're all they are. It's all the Intel chips, you know what I mean? They're all died. I said, mate, this is bullshit, you know what I mean? So what I've done is I put them in, I waited, they came in, I put them all in. Hey, presto, the bastard's working. So, but the point of this video is, it's, you know, it don't assume, you know what I mean, it can be this, this and this, but it's time consuming to figure one out at a time. So how I did it was I had another working board that I got, and I used the RAM in that to make sure each one is working. Because how else are you going to test it, you know? Sometimes that might say, oh, yeah, this is faulty, but it's something else. But like I keep saying, always good to have another board to verify that. I've always said in all my videos, because never assume that you saw, oh, this is a problem, that is it. No, it might be something else, okay, can cause this problem. So we did that, you know what I mean? So I changed them all, it's up and running and that. But, you know, but mate, they're from 76. These boards are 78, but the original ones of the Midways, they were actually, you know, about 76. They were doing other games. Okay, this is a 2X board basically, in that, because this is a K version. There is actually another version. There's an F out there. There's an F as well. There's another couple of different ones and a deluxe version of this board. But the problem is, hang on, I'll get to another board. Okay, here's another one. Okay, here's another one of his, because I'm gonna go there and drop them off for him, because he's gonna have an Uncle Doug when I drop it off. So what happened was, I had this one didn't have an 8080, another 8080. So the 8080s have come in, and can you have a look? I've replaced 3 of them basically of these the RAMs are shot. Then it had no program, so I was trying to going everywhere in my bloody boxes trying to find RAM chips, these 2716 RAM chips for this board. You know, I'm going to hold it there for you to have a look. This is a little bit better quality, this one here. It hasn't gone off badly, you know what I mean? Have a look, you know what I mean? Check that out, you know what I mean? So yeah, have a look at the work there, you know. As I said, well, man, you're not talking. Yeah, have a look, you know, check the workmanship out. Okay, when I do my work, you know, I'm not trying to blow my own horn. I'm just telling you, if you put the time and effort and the right tools, it makes the job easier. Basically, have a look at the RAM chips there. All those RAMs have been replaced. Check that out. Have a look at that. And I'm trying not to lift the tracks up, because there's a lot of delaminating with these boards, basically, you know what I mean? Because they really are old boards. Okay, and these Midway boards, they had an issue. They had a problem when they were making them in the States, basically, you know what I mean? So, as I said to you, had an issue trying to find these RAMs. But hang on. But the boys from Geeks, they came up with this little daughter board. Remember, you can play one of my Nintendo ones, the 2532s. You can't get 2532 EEPROMs. So they came up with these little these adapter boards, and that's a 27. Bloody hell, my brain has stopped. It's a 2716, but it's running a 28C16 chip in there. It's a late model surface mount. So hang on. So this is 1976, 77, whatever it is, the year of when these boards came out. We're going to put a surface mount on this board. Who would have thought that these boards are going to get a surface mount chip put on them, okay? So there you go. So I'm going to put surface mount chips onto this, because I'm having problems trying to get bloody EEPROMs, okay? Because sometimes you get them, yeah, man, or could get them off whatever sites you want to get them. We're not mentioning sites, whatever. You get them in, and what happens is, you know, yeah. You know, here's one here that I bought the other day. It was a 28C. It's a dip packet, okay? Guess where he is? He's in the bin. I programmed him. And guess what? A couple of days, the program's no longer there. I said, what the hell's happened? Yep, it died. You know what I mean? So don't assume that you're going to get something is going to work. You know, accept that. You know what I mean? So I've gone to these now. Okay, because you can still buy them in blister pack. These are the latest stuff in that. But it's a bit of work to put them on than that. But what do? Do you want your game working? Okay, original software's on there. Original software, programmed on there. Your board's working. You know what I mean? So there you go. What happens with this? So we're going to surface mount with this. You know what I mean? So back to okay. Because, as I said to you, I'll have a look at some of these boards. I think this guy, I've shown him once before. This is a version D board, okay? Now, check this guy. My mate gave me this because he's got a Seawolf, okay? So he's given me this board, you know, check that out. Don't look at the crusty ram chips with the heads and that. Have a look at the workmanship. A previous person did the workmanship on that, okay? But don't forget, these were in storages here and there. Everyone did what they had to do to get the board going back in the day. This is nearly 50 years old. They're not last week. 50 years old these boards are, you know what I mean? But as I said, they all did whatever they had to do to get it going, basically. You know, if the service department or the guy who had the better equipment did the better job. Because I remember working back in the day, one of my old bosses had a Pace, the solder sucker, you know what I mean? And it was big dollars. It's an American brand. Have a geezer. It's called Pace, P-A-C-E. Okay, as a desoldering station, you know what I mean? And basically, you know, I was using that to repair poker boards, basically. You know, here, I'll show you the repair on there. To repair the poker boards back in the day when I was doing it, you know what I mean? But as I said, look, you know, if you use a solder sucker for this, forget it, mate. You ain't going to do shit with it, you know what I mean? Because there's a prick of a board to work with. So, while I was at it, here's this audio board, okay? This is the audio board out of it, basically. So the audio board sits inside like that in the socket, basically. You know, there it is. I put it in the view. It sits in like so, you know. But the Midway stuff, it had these type of connectors on there, basically. You know what I mean? So I had some of the audio was wrong with this. Oh, if you play the Toto one, go and play one of my Toto ones. Toto had all the volume pops to adjust all the sounds. They only got one volume pot to just one sound, basically, you know what I mean? So I sorted him out. It's a matching pair wherever it came, because they're always the same. How I get them, I put them back together. But as I said, most of them have been molested everywhere and everywhere, basically, you know what I mean? So, yeah, check, you know, as I said, this is most of the problems with them. These don't go. These are pretty good, you know, these soundboards, you know what I mean? Yeah, here's the other one. Okay, this one here had a bit more issues with it, you know what I mean? You know, there it is there. There's the other one. Oh, this guy here. I changed the headers on him. Are you right? I had to change the headers. Hang on, I'll talk about the headers. Here they are here. There's the header. What happened was, when the plug sits inside the header, okay, the pin is in the back. Here I am. I was cleaning the front of them. And I go, why isn't this thing, it was working properly? I had issues with the audio, you know. And I go, what the hell? Mate, it's the back of the plug where the pin goes. It wasn't the front, because the way here, there's a connector here. See how the connector is? All right, so that goes in like so, basically. I had prepared this early for the video. See how it sort of goes in? All right. So what happens is the pin is on that, hang on, the pin's there, basically. So when the header goes in, okay, it contacts the back, not the front. So here I am cleaning. Oh, that's a Space Invader. That's a Space Invader harness for the Toto. And that thing is, they were stuffed. So I said, bugger it. So I went and got new ones, and I fixed this guy up. The other one was okay, you know what I mean? But this one here was all crusty, and the pins wouldn't make good, because this is the power side, this is the joystick side. But it was a bit crusty on that. But to repair these aren't bad to repair, you know what I mean? You can sort of see my workmanship. Oh. Again, I don't count how many of these I've put in so far in the video. Where's my little screwdriver here? Oh, hang on, this guy here. Have a look. I have to use machine sockets to use for these boards, because the track from underneath the veer hole disappears. So I've got to use the machine socket so I could put a bit of solder over here to connect to the top board. Because as I said to you, the boards are not the best. This one here, I put a through hole. Okay, this is not bad. This is a dual wipe, a machine socket. And the reason is that, yeah, here's my machine socket. I said to you many times, I hate them. Okay, I don't like them. Here, this is what a machine socket looks like. See how they are? They're sort of a round little pin. Basically, you know, there they are. It's got a little round hole in the middle. Oh, everything's got a round hole in the middle. Okay, if it didn't have a hole in the middle, there's something wrong. So there, it's got the hole. So you put them in. The reason good thing about these, I like using them on that. You can put the solder. See how it's got a bit of a tape. It's like a nipple. It goes like that. You know what I mean? So when you put in the solder from the underneath, it drips all the way down to the leg, and it goes onto the pad. Where is it? Fucking here. Onto the pad, basically. You know. So you could actually go onto the pad on there. So you could actually get your soldering iron in there to make contact to the pad, basically. You know what I mean? Because. And the other thing, you got to clean your pad too. You don't want you doing it, because when they built these, they left them outside. And it's in Chicago, dude. You know how cold Chicago is. And it's cold. If people don't know, it's fucking cold. Okay, and they didn't. They didn't coat them. They left them raw. And what happened? Moisture got on there, and then the screening started. That's why you're having track rots, basically. You know what I mean? So that's one issue. And by the way, I don't know what that white stuff is, and that's not a joke. Okay, I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened to this. Fucking, there's a washer there. All right, screwdriver's gone. Okay, I don't know what this is. I don't know what it is. What happened to this board, because I actually did Google wash these. When I got it, because they were pretty bad to work with. I don't like working on boards that I can't work on. You know what I mean? How do you work on? You know, you're gonna eat a dish with a dirty plate. You know what I mean? Or food on it. You know what I mean? But like I said to you, back to this other guy's here. This guy's board here. All right, on this guy's board. You know, don't expect it's been sitting on the shelf there, and it's going to be still alive. I'm telling you, you got to cop this. Unless you get some rosemary beads, get Pope Leo to bless it, okay? This is going to go, not going to go to heaven. It's going to go to downstairs, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So don't expect them to last, okay? Because it's called chip rot, you know, and I've mentioned it in many, many videos, that what chip rot is, the chips are dying, you know what I mean? So regardless of that, because I think what happened with this guy here was a classic fault. It was in storage and it hasn't been turned on. And then I turned it on, let it run, and then turned it off, and it started dying one by one. You know what I mean? Hey, you could give me the comments down the bottom, mate. I don't care. You know what I mean? As I said, I have seen them. I've seen it with later model boards. You know, it goes, yeah, man, it was working and then it died. You know, mate, as I said, mysteries. You know? And there's a couple of chips on this board that I'm getting a hard time trying to find. I had to get some donors from another board to fix this up, you know what I mean? But it's getting harder and harder to find a couple of chips on this, you know what I mean? But at least my girl came with the ramps. I took a punt. They were working. Thank God for that. They weren't cheap. Okay, hey, I'll be honest. Like I said to you, what do you think? I'm telling you about this now again. Why have I gone to this job? You think, mate, it takes time to do that. You know what I mean? But I don't want having problems with these bloody EEPROMs trying to program them, thinking that, oh yeah, they're working or whatever, you get them from whatever. I'm going to this now. Almost 2716s are going to come like this now on these boards. And that, because I'm getting sick of those those EEPROMs, you know. But as I said, you know, what do? You know, it's, mate, half of you guys who watch this board's probably older than you guys, you know. Yeah, man, we get the point. It's old. You know what I mean? So, yeah, basically, you know what I mean? But as I said, I got this piece of shit from the dead. It's up and running. Okay, I'm not a mortician anyway. But as I said, I put a bit of love into it and got it going, you know what I mean? But as I said, original, okay? Got it going, you know what I mean? With a handful of parts, you know what I mean? But there's some boards you can't can't regurgitate. They are bad. They are bad. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So what do? You know what I mean? But these are not bad, these two. He's going to get them. He's going to have an Uncle Doug, you know what I mean? So, guys, that's all me waffling on about the Midway Space Invader boards. As I said, you know, yeah, they're not bad once they're working, you know what I mean? But as I said, you know, all original, you know, that's what they are. That's an L board, looks like that, you know what I mean? That's why they call them an L board. There's plenty of games on this platform that came out back in the day, you know what I mean? So I'm still trying to work on my mate's bloody Seawolf, you know, and that. But as I said, keep the love going. As I said, easy to find bits and pieces, and some yes, some no. On that, guys, note, I'm just going to stop there for a sec. That's it, guys. You know, the old saying is, you know, pinball machines, video games, poker machines, and Dr. Love, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoy it. At least it's not a poker machine. And the spring again. All right, there's the spring. Okay. Okay, so, guys, cheers. Thanks for watching.